Welcome back to the Life with Nick podcast. I'm your host, Nick Kleitch, and with me today is an individual that I have kind of an old school tie to, but it's been so great to reconnect with her on life, and we're going to dive into many different topics of conversation. But Jen, welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all mine. I was just mentioning to you, I was just so looking forward to this for many different reasons, but it'll be great to kind of catch up with you in this, talk about a lot of different topics about life. And um, one thing I wanted to drill on that I think is really cool with you is the level of, I don't know if seriousness is what I want to use, but obligation maybe to being a mom. I just find that so cool that some people are that way, some people are not, but you really take like a fullness to that job. So just to kind of kick things off, like what does motherhood mean to you?
Oh God, when you asked that, I just got goosebumps. Motherhood is like absolutely everything to me. It's more than I envisioned that it really could be. I feel like it's my entire purpose in this world and in this life. Like I was meant to be a mom, and not everybody is, and it's not everyone's life. And I know that, and I respect that. But my life, I was meant to be a mama, and I love every ounce, every minute, every second. It's already going way too fast. I have a 9-year old, an 8-year old, a 6-year old as of last week, and a 3-year old. So they definitely give me my entire life meaning. For sure. I'm even like getting a little tear. Like it's such a loaded question, but yeah, they give me purpose, and I really feel like they're my legacy. Like nothing else matters in this world than, creating other humans to make this world a better place before, during, and after my life.
Yeah, I love that. And it's just not every day you hear that response, which is why I want to bring it up and dive into it. Someone like, again, that you said just takes that kind of, important, it's important to you and it is your purpose. On that note, though, what I am curious about, so when did you feel that you knew that motherhood was your purpose versus like, oh, I'm just going to maybe decide to be a mom, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that you're ever ready for. And being a high school teacher, I share that with my students sometimes. They're like, "How did you know you were ready?" I'm like, "You don't. I didn't. I thought there would be some, white flag from the sky saying it's time to have a baby. You're ready." And I wasn't. I wasn't. I didn't have those signs. And I was 27. I was really glad my husband and I decided to wait as long as we did. We had a lot of time together to really have that solid foundation as a couple and in our relationship to forge ahead and be parents, and even having those deep conversations with each other. Are we really sure? We both always knew we wanted kids, and then as soon as we got married, we're like, okay, we said that, but like, do we really mean it? Are we really ready? And so we decided to let nature take its course, which only took about 7 months. And we dove right in after marriage. But we were together about 12 years before we got married. So that's a little different. But, I think at 27, I kind of joke a little bit and say I still had that 16 and pregnant feeling. Like I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I had enough time. I didn't think I had enough money. I didn't think I had enough anything or everything. Like I just still was nervous. But it's just something about nature, that baby comes out and looks you in the eyes, and you are locked and in love. And everything from that moment on is like a beautiful cloud. You just move forward and live life and love.
Yeah, my goodness, that it's really cool to hear that, and for me being a guy, we may take for granted the natural ability maybe that ladies have to rise to the occasion, and as you mentioned, it is for some and maybe not for others. But I think that for when that responsibility comes in the world, you kind of have to make that decision ultimately of like, hey, we got to show up, or we can't just like not care for this little thing that we made. So as far as your evolution, waiting a little bit, when you had the first child, what were some things looking back now that you've had four that you may advise to other individuals, specifically, the ladies in the room that are going to maybe go through this process or are currently pregnant, let's say, and getting ready? Because I really like leveraging knowledge and expertise for people, that are going through those, have already done it, but then are maybe going through it. So hopefully all that question made sense.
Yeah, it totally did. I don't think any one person can have some miraculous answer. We're all just figuring this life out as we go. But I feel like every baby is so different, and like after I had one, I was like, okay, I think I know what this parenting thing's all about. And I was ready for number two. And then number two, every pregnancy, every birthing story is so different. Every child, even though it's you and your husband mixed together, is so different. So what worked for the first one won't work for the second one. And I think any parent out there would say the exact same thing. As they grow and as they age, what punishment worked for one kid won't work for another. And so, parenting is a bit of a game and always trying to figure out what works for one. And you can maybe even think back on your childhood if you don't have a parent and think about, how you were so different from your sister or your siblings, and, what worked for her didn't work for you. And maybe you were more stubborn and more, whatever. Like I know I was that way. So the way my parents parented me was not the way they parented my sister. And I think that there's not like one clear way to do it. But, I definitely have, looking back on our first one, it's that special bond that you just can't ever break. And that love, my husband had that moment with our first daughter. It was like she was crying, and within the first 2 minutes of being born, they throw her in my arms, and we're crying and happy, and he says, "Hi, baby girl." We didn't know if we were having a girl or a boy, and she stopped crying and her locked eyes with her father.
Oh,
It was the most magical moment I've seriously seen to date. Those two, it was like, she was like, "That's what I've been hearing. You're him, you're it." Like those two were instantly bonded, honestly, even more than me and her. It was magical to see that, and to see them have that moment after, carrying her for 9 months, and me having that bond with her, to see them have that bond together. So I don't know if there's any like magical whatever. If anyone's thinking about multiples, it is quite funny in my life. I feel like having like four is just my life. I don't even remember what it's like to have two kids or one. And to me, the mail guy drops off the mail and they wonder if I have a daycare going on. I'm like, no, these are all my kids. Like having four seems like, what having eight was maybe 50 years ago. Like everyone looks at us like we're a bit of a zoo, which is kind of entertaining, I guess, for me, because I will share with those that are interested in being nervous and moving from one to two or more, that I was nervous, like how I love this first one so much, like how can my heart handle, like how do I divide the love? And I think any parent would say it as well. It's like you don't divide it, it just multiplies. Like I kind of thought I had to like share pieces of me, pieces of love. And it's like not even about division or dividing, but it's a matter of like exploding. It's like to make all my kids feel loved is like the most important thing to me. And my little joke, I guess, with all the kids is like they're all my favorite. I'm like, you're my favorite. Literally say it to all of them and they know it. And so they're like, you say that to all of us. I'm like, it's true though. You're my favorite and she's my favorite and he's my favorite. Like you're all my favorite. Because I never want them to feel like I have more love for one over the other. That can be really hard. And as a sibling, being like, oh, so and so was the favorite. You'll hear that in every family. Maybe that'll change in 20 years, but for sure, it just multiplies.
So, gosh, there is just a lot of good stuff there, but thank you for just diving right in with that answer. But so in terms of that feeling of multiplication versus dividing, how do you maintain the uniqueness of like parenting each individual kid? Is that maybe easier just because I don't have kids for a parent to identify, or do you actually have to like work with the skills that you need to bring to the table for each individual kid, let's say?
I think the latter. I think my education background and teaching helps me be a better parent, quite honestly. It's the hardest job. Being a parent is the hardest job you will ever have. It's absolutely exhausting. After the end of the school day, I have a couple teacher friends that are, your age and they're young, in their 20s, don't have children. They're like, how do you come home and do this? Like my brain is fried from teaching all day. any job. It meant teaching is just very mentally stimulating and exhausting after 7,000 decisions we've made all day long. So to come home and have to, manage the home and manage dinner and homework and baths and sports and schedules and calendars, and it's a lot. And I think you just have to, as you grow with your child, you learn their personalities and what works for them. And some of it's trial and error always as a parent. Like I said, my son, all three of my girls potty train so fast. We're struggling getting him to potty train. He's 3.5, and he just doesn't want to do it. He just, it doesn't matter how many chocolates we offer, or how many stickers charts we do, or how many tractors. Tractors are his favorite thing in the world. We took all tractors away for a month, and that doesn't faze him. So we're still trying to, even in little ways, figure out what works for him, because M&Ms, when my daughters went pee, worked every time. They were potty trained by 2, like lickety slack. So what worked for one won't work for another. Some of it comes down to like temperament, and my oldest is maturing so quickly, and I don't know if I'm ready for the next phase, but I so am. She's asking so many deep questions. She asks, what happens when we die. She asked me questions about, why are people naked in these movies, Mom? I don't understand. Or like, there's just things I was not prepared for parenthood on a daily basis. And we had 6 hours in the car yesterday, and she just ate up all that car talk as a 9-year-old. And she's like, why are people mean, Mom?
Ooh,
That's a loaded.
wow. That's a very loaded
Yeah.
question. That's so great. Um, Gosh, that's
What would your answer be, Daddy
I
Nick?
I know I need to start thinking of myself and getting my mind right for that, just because you have to, in some ways, get to their level, but also they're just such a clean slate, and that's why I think that even though I haven't been a parent, there's such an honor with that opportunity, because if you can facilitate that in a non-biased way to try to really teach, then I think that's more of a receptive life lesson than trying to sway it one way or another. That's one thing me and my soon to be wife have talked a lot about, is just being able to share the information non-biasedly, and I'll try to allow them to kind of develop their thought process on what they want to think. Because I think independent thinking is a little bit lost in today's world, just because of social media and everything else. But just to kind of bring us back to the motherhood theme here, Jen. So as far as you going into motherhood at 27, and let's say you would have a conversation with your younger self right now, what advice would you share with her on either it's going to be okay, or just some credible life lessons or material that you would just say, hey, we only get a couple minutes together for me to share this to you, but I love the framing of that question for so many different purposes, but I'll have you run with it as you feel fit.
I think looking back, whether I'm talking to teenagers or 20 somethings, or even myself at that age, I would probably just say, you're never going to know when you're really ready, but it's so important that you have yourself figured out as much as possible. Um, I think it's so valuable for you as an individual to be confident in who you are, not necessarily have it all figured out. That's not what I'm saying. We never have it all figured out, I don't think, ever. But always having that open mind to learn and grow. There's no doubt about it. Who I am today at 37 is not who I was at 27, and I hope not. Those life experiences shape who we are. But with that being said, I was not prepared for the amount of mental space that children take up. Sunrise to sunset, all day long, all the questions, all the talking, all the bugging, all the snuggles, all the kisses, all the cries, all the owies, all the boo boos. It is mentally more consuming than I ever could have imagined.
Wow, what a good thing to
Um,
say, though.
yeah, you need to make sure that you're solid, that you've had enough time to discover the core of who you are, I
Yeah.
guess. There's so many things that I've grown in as a person since then, and I will continue to do so, because that's life. But yeah, I am glad I was a teacher about 5 or 6 years before I had children,
Mm,
so getting a little bit of time in my career to get my master's and also kind of get my bearings in my profession and feel confident enough to know, like, I knew there would come a day when I had children and I wasn't going to stay after school and spend 4 or 5 hours outside the workday, which is what I was doing in my 20s. It consumed me, and for good reasons and bad reasons. It was my passion and it was where my heart was at the time. But I knew that there would be a day I wouldn't put that amount of time into my profession. And I definitely firmly believe, like, we are so replaceable at work. And so it's so
mm,
important to not find your entire identity in your profession. Being a language teacher, I'm very passionate about culture, other cultures and culture learning and languages. And, something that's very different from Spanish culture to American culture is that we work, like, we live to work. It is like, what is the first thing you say to somebody that you meet? Hi, my name's Nick and I do this. My name's
right.
Jen. Like, that's my identity. My entire identity is I'm a teacher. Instead of like, hi, I'm Jen. I'm really out. I'm an Enneagram 7. I love to listen to audiobooks and drink coffee and have deep conversations with people. Like, that's not how we introduce ourselves.
You're so right, though. But I think that well, I shouldn't say that only because I think a lot of people probably do struggle with that or haven't even contemplated that. Right when you said the identity piece, the one thing I remember having to overcome in my own journey was sports, not being a player, a football player, baseball player, basketball player. And I was fortunate enough to play at the college level. And after that was done, wow, did that take a rug out from underneath my feet, because that's your entire life. And you think, and then how do you reinvent, right? No one gives you the tools in college to say, here, we're going to go back to square root one and we're going to
Hmm.
reinvent yourself and how you want to show up and what you want to do with life is it's a great opportunity, but it's extremely intimidating for those that haven't even thought about that. Because if you take that away, who are they, right? Um, so you bring, oh, go ahead.
Uh-huh. Well, and that's part of why I'm no, I'm just that's part of why I'm building myself in new ways, and I'm growing now in my business as well, because I'm like, if I take
Mhm.
teaching away, who am I? Like, who am I if I'm not a Spanish teacher? Like, I have no idea what I would do if it's not who I was. And there's pros and cons. I think that means I found my calling. I think it means positive things as well, that I'm happy, I'm content, I'm passionate, I'm driven. Like, it is where my heart is and where I feel like I can make a difference in this tiny little world. But on the same time, if that
Right.
piece was taken away for different reasons, like, what do I have left? Who am I without that? So I think it's important, whether for me it's teaching, for you as, your athletics, like, yes, that's such a big piece
Yeah.
of who we are, but who are we without those things? So to continue to, like, find those interests and those passions as a person, which is, the underlying of motherhood and fatherhood. We lose our identity in parenthood as well. Very much so. We, as moms, we put so many things on the back burner. Like, I'll do that later. We don't take care of ourselves. I think that's also why I'm very passionate. Like, now in my Monet journey and sharing, like, hair care, skin care, makeup, like, you don't have to forget about yourself just because you're a mom. Like, some kind of image of being this frumpy, overtired, overdrawn. Like, we're our
Mhm.
best selves when we take care of ourselves. And if we look good and we feel good, then we're able to present our best selves for our families, for our children, for everyone else that needs our energy in our life.
That's so great. And I am with that 100%, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not showing up 100% for the people that you love. And it sounds contradictory, right? Because it's like, oh, I should help first and then I'll worry about me. But that's just not the right formula. There are two other questions that I want to hit on. We'll definitely come back to you becoming a business owner, and that journey. So as far as cultural differences, in terms of motherhood, family structure, what you've been exposed to, what are maybe the top two either cultural practices or big shock moments where you're like, oh, like I thought this is what everyone does, and then you go see these other cultures and how they go about either motherhood, family structure, all that stuff. So I'm very curious on that piece because I think that perspective is healthy to talk to people about.
Yeah, well, I think if you start looking outside of the American lens, you're going to see like that motherhood looks very, very different in a lot of cultures. Starting with maternity leave, that's a very political topic here. But we only get 12 weeks of maternity leave in the United States, and it's not even like required to be paid. A lot of people have that misconception that you get 12 weeks of paid leave, and they're required to keep your job for 12 weeks. But no, not all of them are paid. So I had to work probably almost 3 years for 1 6-week leave. So by the time I had put in 6 years and never taken a sick day, I was able to have two babies and take about 7 weeks with each one. And looking back, it's mind blowing to expect that on so many levels, not just physically, like what it takes to heal from that, but like mentally and emotionally, the changes that happen to become a parent. So it's very overwhelming to have to go back to work so fast. And then triple with my NICU baby, Tinley was born 12 weeks premature. And so I was in a really supportive district. And so I'm really grateful to them. But there was no extra leave. She was in the hospital for 64 days, which is almost 12 weeks. So to
Yeah,
go through that journey and have to work through that journey was very difficult. Again, I
kind of
had
insane, actually.
probably, maybe I'm sugarcoating it, actually insane. I went back to school for 4 weeks post C-section surgery. Ready or not, that was what I chose to do so I could save my maternity leave for when my baby came home with me. And I mean, looking back, it's our system. I'm not going to rag on, I'm talking about our entire American system.
Yeah,
Not my school district, not Iowa, just overall, it's something that definitely needs some work. To have this infant baby come home after 12 weeks in the hospital, at that point, she's an infant and
right.
she needs care. She needs daily care like a newborn. And so to only get, 6 weeks with a newborn is just mind blowing. Most cultures are at least 3 months, and it's paid leave at a minimum. Some are 6 months, and even some of those, Sweden and over in Europe, they do up to a year of maternity and paternity paid leave. So that is something that is very difficult to manage in our culture, and I feel like also as an American, we kind of mentioned how we put so much pressure and stress on like being all the things to all the people, and we put so much identity into our careers. And so it's like I have this job, and like as mothers I feel like we have to juggle it all. I have to have the career and the job, and we want to show that we can handle it all, that we can do it all, that we don't have to choose one or the other. And there's some pride in that, but at the same time, motherhood has really humbled me. And I never would have thought I would want to be a stay-at-home mom. And I think our culture looks down upon that. I think our culture shows that. I think our culture looks at that as not being successful or not being good enough or driven enough or passionate enough, or I could label it in so many ways. I think our
Yeah,
culture shuns stay-at-home moms, and I think that's really unfortunate because I think that our daycares and being moms are like our number one. They're shaping our young minds of the world. So much of their brains are developed by the age of 4 or 5 when they do enter the school system. So I don't think there's anything more valuable than being a daycare provider or being a stay-at-home mom. So that is definitely a big culture difference too, trying to handle it all.
well, and we're I pose that because we get so sucked into our day-to-day lives that we just think that that's what it is, but
Mhm.
then it's like that connectivity of us being aware of other cultures and other practices needs to happen in 2024, right? We are globally connected, and so the fact that in, let's say, the creation of some of these ideas that we hold so strongly, like that may just be from XYZ reason, and that might not even be valid anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why I really wanted to kind of allow you to speak on that a little bit, because if you're just like, well, that's the way it is, that's actually not true.
Well, it is. It's just unfortunate that we have to power through those situations, that looking back on those moments, like I had to work a 9-hour day and then I had to drive an hour to the hospital. and spend, 4 hours with my baby in an incubator. And then I had to drive an hour home to sleep and do it all over again for over 40 days.
Right.
It was my life, it was my situation, and we did it. But looking, and so many other families do or have, I don't, in that sense, I don't feel like I'm anyone special. Like we all have our hurdles and our mountains that we're climbing at different points in our life. And so I think we do normalize those hurdles, though. Like, it's just like, oh well, that's what we got to do. But in the moment, how do I change that situation? How do I get more
Right.
maternity leave? I'm not, I need my insurance, I can't quit my job.
No shit. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah, that's nuts. But it's a good, again, a good kind of uh, place to examine, from your unique perspective, what other places do, how they view it, to maybe what other folks are going through. So maybe you said another way, if you're someone listening to this or a mother listening to this and feel like it's a lot, well, Jen's confirming that it is.
Mhm. I know I get posed that question all the time, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't,
I
that's a
think
loaded
you just,
question.
yeah, you just kind of gotta do it, unfortunately.
Yeah, moment by
I don't
moment,
know.
life by life. Like, I do have my own outlets. I have my husband and I are a team. I think that that's huge and important. I don't do this alone. I didn't choose to do this alone. I don't want to do this alone. My husband is very much yeah, an equal part, 100 and 100 at all times. And I couldn't do what I do the way I do without him. We're definitely the yin and the yang to each other. And we're constantly communicating that and verbalizing that with each other. And I think that's really important in our like marriage and our marriage together as parents as well, to acknowledge. I mean, I think so many just go through the motions of the day to day that they forget to acknowledge that. And I think acknowledgement is everything, especially when you're feeling really overwhelmed with those day to day tasks. Like, hey, thanks for loading those dishes. I hadn't got them to them yet. I was in the middle of baths. I really appreciate it. Like just having those expectations and expecting things to happen, but just noticing the little things that get done. Like, yeah, he's the dad. He ate dinner. Like, why wouldn't he load the dishes or whatever? Like, yes, like we just counter work, counter parent, but also acknowledge what the other one does. I'm the calendar runner. Don't ask him when anything is. He has no idea. He wakes up every day and says, "What's going on today?" To show up to an event, you need to ask me or have me put it on the calendar. He said, I don't even know. I do all the paperwork, I do all the emailing and the registration, the school lunch, and those little daily things that, again, we all as parents do. And he's like, thanks for doing that. Like, you're welcome. Those little daily acknowledgments go a long way, I think, to that
100%.
relation. I mean, kids or no kids, I suppose that could go and pertain to any relationship and marriage. Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for weeding today. That was not something I wanted to do.
Yeah, no kid. Well, and to know that in both the relationship, you as the person doing the thing feel as if you're shortchanged or you're making sacrifices, and you may not even know that they know that you're feeling that way. So unless you have that conversation and be keen in on some of those observations of like, hey, I saw you vacuumed, like that's awesome, thank you, or
Mhm.
whatever the case is, like I think that's just good relationship input output 101. So I'm gonna bring us back a little bit to the motherhood piece, and then we'll just kind of find our way to the next kind of conversation point. Um, so as far as your kiddos, them growing and developing, being a mother, what have your children taught you about life?
I think that they have definitely, I don't, oh, this is loaded. I'm thinking on this one longer than I wanted to. Um, I'm an Enneagram 7, which is very the enthusiast. And if no one knows their Enneagram, then they need to go figure it out right now. Do you know your Enneagram, Nick?
Yeah, I think last time we chatted, I was a 2. Is that right? A helper? Is that a yeah?
Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right. Makes sense. So I'm an enthusiast. And so I've been my whole life just very positive, energetic. I don't dwell on the negative. I don't feel negative. I do, but the personality, like I don't allow myself to live in those moments. And so I have always been a like live in the moment kind of person. And watching my babies grow is terrifies me in the sense that like life is so fast. The older you get, the faster it goes. And I truly savor every little car trip, little mini golf experience, going to the pool. I really, really work hard with my children to find joy in the little daily moments, snuggling on the couch. We have our routines like highs and lows at bedtime. It's the best conversations that we could ever have. Allowing them that platform and space to like be open and speak to me and whatever's on their heart every single night. Even my little 3-year-old boy, he's still, learning the concept of highs and lows at bedtime, and it's so sweet. What made you happy today? Oh, so and so played with me. Oh, that was a fun moment, wasn't it? But they humble you. They've humbled me. They've thought I was a really patient person before
Mm.
I had kids. I was so patient. And now my patience has been tested beyond belief. Owning my own emotions, using my words, learning how to use my words more with my children, trying to demonstrate what I'm teaching them, but also like being what I'm trying to teach them
Mm.
to be. They've they've taught me to be a better person, because they test my patience so much in all the little moments of, frustration, anger, stubbornness. I don't want to clean that up. Okay, well, you're going to. So you can clean it up now or you can clean it up in 2 minutes. You choose, and so I just take a deep breath, and that the patience is beyond belief. My Tinley girl is a free spirit and she just lives in the
Mm.
moment, and I love that about her. She also teaches me to just be happy all the time. And I love that about her. Like she just lives right now. She doesn't live for like an hour from now or tomorrow. Like she has no clue what we're doing tomorrow, nor does she care. Like she just lives right now. So it humbles me in that way as well. Like just live for today. Like let's make today the best day that it can be. And again, that patience and perseverance, and being that person that you want to see in them. So kind of, I don't know if your parents ever said this, but do as I say and not as I do was something. And I don't want that. I don't want to just tell them what to do. I want to show them. Like I want to be an example, for them, what to do. Constantly trying to teach them healthy
Yes.
habits. I didn't grow up seeing healthy habits in my home. My mother told me what to do. She told me what was healthy, but I never saw her do
Ah,
that. And really pushing health, in different ways, so that I can kind of break that cycle. um, from me, it's been such a long journey for me to kind of learn those habits as I go, and then teaching that to them, like, not labeling foods as good as bad, or labeling, like, why do you work out so much, mom? Well, because I want to have a strong heart, I want to have strong
right.
muscles, I want to be able to walk up all those stairs at the water park, and I want to be able to ride the rides with you. Like, I want to be that mom that lives life with you. I don't want to be the mom that sits on the sidelines.
No, that was good. That was good.
So I could keep going. I don't know. I just,
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, with like the signal or whatnot, but I like asking those loaded questions because I feel like it produces a good organic answer and many different like avenues you can go with that. But
well, my daughter will even ask me sometimes with certain things. Like she'll get frustrated with a response, like she wants a phone. She's 9. I'm not going to give you a phone. That's not appropriate at this time. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. I have learned that giving kids a why, even if they don't like it, they respect it a lot more. Like, why can't I have a phone? Well,
mm,
the reason is because you don't need one to communicate via text or phone. You don't have that type of friends. You have a tablet, so you can communicate with your friends on Kids Messenger. Like there's not a need. You don't need GPS. You don't need Facebook, Instagram. Like you have YouTube on your tablet. Like
right.
there's not a need for it. There's a want. So I'm like, when you start driving a car, then there's a need for it, and we'll talk about it at that point. But you don't need it now. And when you're a parent, I say this a lot. When you're a parent, you can do what you want. This is my choice and this is why I'm choosing it.
Yeah, and what's so funny about that too is like, so I'm almost 30 here knocking on the door, and I'm just now like mentally realizing like the choices that my parents did for me, and it's like, wow, like it took that long for me to be like the whole cycle as to why they did what they did and all that stuff, and you're just that just still kind of blows my mind to this day.
Yeah, yeah, and when I mean, even telling them that they have the freedom when they're a parent. When you're a mom, you can tell your kids whatever you want. But now, as a 9-year-old, she can like accept those things, and then she goes out into the world and sees other whatever friends, parents of friends, and wow, their parent just hands them $20 to go to the concession stands at the ball game. I don't do that. I'm not saying that's wrong.
Right.
If you have the finances and you can afford that, I'm not here to tell anyone what's right or wrong or good or bad as a parent. But I also there's so many levels and facets to parenting, and money is one of them. So I'm like, I'm not just going to fork over $20 every single time my kid wants something. Like, that doesn't teach them the value of money. It doesn't teach them the value of work. And so we're not gonna spend $40 at the concession stands every time we go to the ball game.
Right.
You're gonna eat at home, and I made this meal for you, and you're going to say thank you. And then, you know what, if you win your game out, we might get a popsicle, but don't expect it. And so trying to teach them the value of a dollar, trying to make them work for it. My girls went to Bible camp, about a couple weeks ago, and they have a canteen where they can like spend money on snacks and ice cream and all these other things. And so I'm like, well, if you want canteen money, you're going to have to earn it. What? I'm
What?
like, well, this is extra. Like, I already paid for your camp, you're welcome, but you're going to have to work for certain things in life. And I think it's really important to teach them at a young age, spoon feeding our kids and doing all these things for them. That's another thing of parenting. Like anyone that's a parent, it takes so much longer to have your kids help you do something. Like I could have the dishes done in 10 minutes, like in the dishwasher, put away. But with them, it's like drawn out in a 20-minute process. But if I just tie my kid's shoes for them, she's never going to learn how to tie her shoes.
Right. Right.
Go on and on and on. I do it, and then I expect them to do it, and it's worth every life lesson that they're going to get from it. The amount of time that it
Right.
takes for them to go through these experiences on their own.
Yeah, and it'll crystallize eventually. That'll be the beautiful thing, and then they'll be grateful for have going through all of that. And like that's where like when you go on your own as a teenager, as a college kid, if you decide to do that, or a young adult, you really see separation of different outcomes of where people came from, and that is always a very interesting and gnarly concept too. Because if you think that you're what you went through was your only way of doing things and you get introduced to all these other methodologies and stuff, it's like short-term gratification for XYZ versus the long-term gratification of certain skills. And I talk to my friends about that a lot, of like certain things that their parents did that they like hated during the moment, but they're like, wow, like I'm so grateful now to get that type of skill set or mindset or whatever it is. So, gosh, what a great answer to that as well. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to pivot just slightly. So, as far as figuring yourself out before you had kids, I know you mentioned that a little bit as a concept, but as far as from kid one to kid four, where do you feel like you've either made the biggest stride, or what has been the biggest resource that you have found to help you continue to kind of figure yourself out personally and transform and evolve and all those good things?
I think habits are everything. Habits are who we become. Habits are who we are. And so I think that's where everything starts and begins and ends is that you can connect easily probably to brushing your teeth. Obviously, that has nothing to do with parenthood, but you wake up every day and you brush your teeth, and you
Brush
would
your teeth.
not brush your teeth. And so I've had to work on my mindset of creating these habits and routines to be successful as a person, as an individual, but also to be successful as a mom, to be successful as a teacher, to be successful in every facet of my life. I think these habits, starting small habits and making them a part of your routine. So through all my podcasting, listening, audiobooks, I have done 21 days to create a habit. but 90 days to keep a habit. I think we are
Wow.
all constantly working on having healthy eating habits, healthy exercise habits. And I tried what I felt like was everything under the sun to have those healthy habits, for example, before children. And I just couldn't figure it out. I just did it sporadically and the consistency wasn't there. I'd work out after school one day, it'd be 3 months, and then I'd fall off the wagon like how many other people. And so habits, we all only have, not just me, we all only have 24 hours in a day. And so it's a matter of kind of making a plan and setting up like what you want your hours to look like and what you want out of that time. And some days, I'm not saying schedule your whole life, but creating those habits. I've definitely seen a change in my energy, my personality,
Mm.
my just everything. I created, there's a Beachbody has an amazing program called Morning Meltdown, and that is 100 days straight of an exercise. And I started that after my fourth baby, after my third baby, and created that healthy habit. I had my baby number 4 was the strongest pregnancy I'd ever had because it was the first.
Really?
Yes, because it shouldn't be rocket science. It shouldn't.
Sure.
It shouldn't be. Exercise is life. Exercise is energy, and I didn't grow up with exercise in my life, and it's a habit that I've had to, like, learn and grow with, and I used to watch other people, whatever, on social media, and, like, if I couldn't do an hour exercise routine or an hour of intensity, then what's the point? What does it matter? It doesn't count if I can't do an hour of intense anything. I had this terrible mindset. And so I just was like, you know what? Like, just do something every day. And I never thought I'd be I read the 5 a.m. club. I
Hey, let's go.
never thought I'd be one of those people 5 years ago. I'd be like, that's funny. I'm not waking up at 5 in the morning. But, kids have changed that in me. Because that's just like sets my day up. I have more energy. I Even my students will be like, "How many cups of coffee did you have?" I'm like, "I didn't. I worked out. Let's go!" Like, I'm just ready to tackle the day. And then when I don't have that, my energy is different. My vibe is different. I feel like getting up and having it's honestly the only quiet time as a mom I get. I go to
Yeah.
my kids go to bed because I get up at 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. Like I put in a 3 hour day before I even start my work day. But meal prep, breakfast, lunch is like, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't eat well. Like I would
Right.
be scrounging for things. So and I used to overcomplicate meal prepping as well. Like I thought it had to be this fancy routine and I had to write a perfect grocery list and go get all these perfect ingredients from the grocery store. Instead, I took me a little time, like, oh, on Sunday I'm throwing a roast in the crock pot or chicken in the crock pot. Well, let's put an extra 2 chicken breasts in, and then I've got my chicken for the week, chop up some salad, and we're good to go. You know,
Boom.
every Sunday I make like a egg casserole of sorts, so that I can have, 5 extra squares and there's my protein and eggs. Throw a little avocado and chia seeds on top. And so I've learned to like not overcomplicate things as well. I think social media puts so much visual on a lot of these things that it looks like, well, if you can't do it this way or it doesn't look this way, then it doesn't count or it doesn't matter. So habits have been life-saving in motherhood for me to get up, have that routine, eat. I work out every morning on the daily routine with school, and I work all day, come home, because let me tell you, after school with kids is absolute chaos. And having 4 of them, they all have to tell me about their day, and they all got to show me their work, and they all want my homework help. And so it's just the idea of getting an exercise in after school at this stage in with young kids. Maybe someday that will look different, but at this stage, it's like it's not going to happen. 3 hours of after school homework and baths, and it's I'm ready to fall over at the end of the day. So I
Ain't no
think.
way you're gonna try to get a workout in at that point.
But again, I really loved how it gives me that energy in the morning. So I didn't even
Yeah.
have that habit before I had kids. It's something that I've had to like learn and grow in myself. So that's definitely something I encourage other young wannabe newlywed moms, like find this pattern and this rhythm for yourself, if you can before you have kids. I tried, but and maybe that's just something that motherhood changes in you too.
Sure, sure.
I think I wouldn't have gotten up at 5 a.m. in my 20s. There's no way. I stayed up till 10 or 11 and slept in until 6:30, threw on my dress and went to work. So it's just a different way of life. And
Yeah.
well, I guess we all find what works for us, but I think routines and habits are life-saving as a mom.
Yeah, I'm so just grateful and elated that you brought that up. Just because Power of Habit, which I'm not sure if that is a book you've read or been introduced to, but so just for the listener's purpose, Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, and then in the 5 a.m. Club, Robin Sharma is the author of that. He does a great job of talking about habit installment, but nonetheless, like those books, if you don't read anything else in that genre, those will absolutely change the way that you view life, because you understand how we literally operate. We're designed to operate that way. And
Hmm.
so when you feed into that consistency, the level of confidence that you have continues to grow, and it just opens up the door for so many other things. But I'm very just happy that you talked on that. So any other thoughts on that, feel free to fire away, and then we'll get to our last two topics.
Yeah, I just feel like otherwise life takes you by. So if you're that person that's feeling overwhelmed, whether you have kids or not, if you feel like life is happening to you instead of you are living life, then that might be something that's really life changing. And trying to change your whole life can be overwhelming. So just start small. Start small. Don't feel like you have to change your diet and exercise. I think maybe that's why I wasn't always successful when I was younger, is because I would try to be like all or nothing
Yeah.
instead of like working on one habit at a time. I think dabble, and once you spent 2 or 3 months creating one habit, then add in another one. For me now, it's been my habit of like my hair care routine, my skincare routine, my every single night. It's just my skincare routine is something that I do because it feels good, and obviously changes things for my anti-aging as well. And now that I've done that, I've seen those changes. So I think what many of us lack in life is
Yeah.
consistency:
It's
exercise, diet, health, skincare, hair care, whatever. So if you want to grow and you want to learn something, it's not going to just happen. You need to create that time to make it happen.
preach, girl. That's what I love to hear right there. That's just a good hearty message about living a good life right there. So, as far as kind of taking a pin in this, we've talked about motherhood for a very good amount of time, but so many good little avenues and channels that we went in there. I do want to go back to a little bit of identity, but then also the new business that you've started or continued to pursue. We talked a little bit in the past just about kind of things you're passionate about, and one thing with that was just in terms of that industry, toxicity within certain elements and products that one could use. So for just an educational like platform here, I wanted to like just allow you to talk a little bit on like why it's so relevant for you, and what you believe in with the business that you're in, and what you're trying to accomplish. And I pose it like this because sometimes when people see things online, they hear things about certain things, they'll do kind of half-ass research, if you will. They assume on surface level that they know what's going on, and so I want to just like dive into it because not only I'm curious, but also I just think it's fair to you to like be able to talk on this in an appropriate manner that says, hey, this is the actual reason why this calls to me so much. And this is why I do what I do. Because I think that's people want to buy the why. They don't want to buy necessarily the what in some cases. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's such a great way to pose it. So, I have to admit that like joining this company was something that sort of fell in my lap. It wasn't something that like I initially went out of my way to chase. I was having some postpartum hair loss. I was having dry, flaky scalp. Like I had tried salon products. I had tried so many other things. And I am a thrifter. I'm a saver. I don't like to spend money. I don't like to spend. And as a mom that had already had 4 kids, there's no way that I'm going to spend like over, haven't bought new tennis shoes in probably 3 years. Like the kids all get new shoes all school year. Every year we get new shoes for the kids, but mamas and dads take back seats, and you want to provide those things for your kids. And you kind of, I wouldn't say forget about yourself, but you don't make yourself a priority. You make your children a priority for the right reasons. But I was just tired of, my itchy scalp, my dry scalp. I was again having that hair loss. And so I had seen this company and this product online for probably over 4 years. And it was just
Wow.
something, again, for me, I just saw at a distance. It wasn't something that I like had really, I just did a quick little Google search like anyone else. And oh, that shampoo makes your hair fall out. That's probably all you're going to find if you Google it, which is the farthest thing from the truth. I know this is a podcast and you can't see me right
No
now,
kidding.
but my hair is more lively and thick and luscious and all the things than it's been in my entire life. I had no idea there was such a thing as like anti-aging hair care. But I've always been, with my cultural side, I've always been really passionate about like the food that goes in my body, the shampoo that goes on my head, my soap, my deodorant that goes in, like all this stuff, it goes into our bodies. And there's so many products in the US, there's so much in the US that is not good for us.
Right.
And there's all these extra chemicals built-ins. And we hear a lot about red dye 40. They finally vetoed that out in California. It's in Skittles, and we could go on and on, but it's a big political issue. But something that I have found very passionate, I'm excited about Monet, is that their products, there's over 1,200 ingredients that the US allows in their products that the EU or European nation does not allow in
Wow.
their products. And so these
1,200. Sorry, I just want to mention that. 1,200.
yeah, that's 1,200. That's why I've like re-enunciate like 1,200 ingredients that the EU does not allow in their products. So these products are made in the United States. Miami is the home base. They partner with the University of Miami for top-notch research and studies, but they are like oil-based product, so they're very, very natural. I wish you could smell them through the podcast. Peppermint, rosemary, I go on and on. But they are a concentrated product, so they're made here in the U.S., which I'm also really passionate about. Not necessarily buying products from another country, but they have that high concentration level that's going to meet that European standard. There's only 11. I don't think I said that. There's only 11 ingredients that the US does not allow in their products as far as like skincare and hair care. So I'm passionate about what they stand for, who they are, and what I'm putting on my body. And I've always been passionate about that prior to learning, but that's part of why I decided to join. And just like anything, I didn't know the company, and I learned as I went a little bit. And you have to do more than a Google search, like you said. Like you're just going to Google it, and all anyone's ever heard about Monet is it makes your hair fall out. So I don't think that's true. If it did, they wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar company in the last 3 years. They're in the top 50 companies of MLM. So there's a lot of misconceptions about being an MLM, and a lot of people are scared of network marketing. But if you look at Forbes, it's the top profession of 2024. It's the number one moneymaker, up and coming. And so what I'm passionate about is obviously a quality product. I'm passionate about getting these products in every human. It's not just women, men too. These products help men's hair growth, hair thickness. Like we have a whole men's care line. It's not just about women, but a quality product, but also helping women with the makeup and the skincare, and realizing like, let's streamline it. You don't have to spend an hour getting ready, and you don't have to say like, oh, I have 4 kids. I don't have time. I don't have time to do my hair. I don't have time to put on makeup. And, I think from the outside, someone looks at me and thinks that I'm just maybe selfish and I put too much time and energy into looking a certain way, when in reality, I spent 6 minutes putting in my nighttime roller and 30 seconds unraveling it and spritzing it with hairspray before I run out the door with my 4 kids. So, it's not something that I think it matters. I think I want to look good. It makes me feel good. However, I don't think that that's something that has to be selfish, and I don't think that's something that has to consume an hour of my life looking a certain way, or putting on makeup, or styling my hair, or doing those things to take care of myself a little bit. And I want other moms to see that. Like I didn't spend more than 5 minutes on my makeup. I don't every day. I enjoy it, yes, but I don't spend hours doing it. And that's the difference. Like you can put on a little makeup if it makes you feel good. And if you don't need that to feel good, that's okay. But with this MLM company and what they stand for, they're a family-owned company, and they want to help improve everyday people's lives like me. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so excited. Like I said, I used the products for a month and a half, and I was like, these products are amazing. They make me feel good. They help my scalp health. I don't have itchy hair anymore. Like I'm obsessed. And then the opportunity of putting it out there to be a market partner with this company is something that's so simple, so streamlined. I have, no risk. I have no products, no stock. Like, I spent $149 and I can either work the business and make money, or I could just sit on it and, have the 30% savings and do nothing. So literally the power is in my hands. And I've been working the business since January of this year, and just sharing the products because I'm passionate about them. I love them. I feel like, again, they're quality and they help make my life better. And I want you to feel what I'm feeling. Like, I didn't know that this was something I needed in my life. I didn't search it out. I didn't like go out of my way. It's just sort of in a positive way happened. And now for me, it's been a beautiful outlet. I've always loved hair and makeup. My grandmother would even say, like, are you sure you want to be a teacher, honey? You're just so good at hair. And it just was not where my heart was at. Like, yeah, it's fun for me, it's a hobby, but like, it wasn't where my career was leading me. So I feel like doing this on the side, some people, it's definitely given me like another sense of purpose, because it's very easy to lose myself in my teaching career and also lose myself in motherhood.
Yes.
And so it's been a really nice positive outlet to be something and someone other than teacher or mom. To just be a woman who cares about her well-being, who cares about herself, and wanting to like lift other women up, and help other women feel some of those great things that I'm feeling. Like, I just want to share the love. So it's also providing that financial background that I never saw coming. But in this world, I mean, the grocery store alone is such a hefty bill. And so this month I was able to hit a rank that I didn't see coming, and so now my eyes are wide open, at the actual possibility of this business growing into more than I ever imagined. This last month I was able to earn an entire week's worth of pay extra from this company.
So
Like,
awesome.
it's in my hands. It is an entire week's worth of my teaching salary, extra. It's just, so I'm just excited. I'm excited to share. I'm excited to grow. I'm excited to, yeah, make this more for my family.
Yeah, man, that is what I'm talking about right there. And the reason that I even bring this up is because a couple different things. First off, I think from when we talked about identity, being multidimensional just brings such peace of mind into oneself. And when you're reinventing yourself, being able to think on that line of I am this thing, I am this other thing, but yet when we start, diversifying, that can just give us more just overall fulfillment in life, because there's not just one thing that if that's taken away, then that's it. The other thing is, I wanted you to talk on this because I think when it comes to sales, and I have been in sales in my career, it can be misleading as to what the intention is. But what I'm hearing from you, Jen, is that you're not necessarily saying I have products, buy my products. What you're saying is this is why this company makes sense to me, and this is who I am. If I am someone for you, please let's talk a little bit. But if it's not, I'm not wasting my breath for you. Like, I'm trying to allow myself to create this brand that is something that I believe in and that I'm passionate about. And when I think you can step into that, you don't even worry about sales in any way, shape, or form. It's just how I live my life. And you're creating content around that and sharing the word on that. And I think that that's just the right way to go about it. There's so many people that in general don't approach it that way. And also, I mean, I've personally dabbled in network marketing and MLM and that stuff, and I've met a lot of people on all ends of the spectrum. And the few that do it right, they do it right and they treat people right, and that's the way to go about it. So any type of business model is not, a scam. It depends on what it is. It's who's operating, the functionality of the actual business itself, and then additionally you doing the actual research to know about this company and how they go about what they do. So if you have any further comments on that, please share. But I just wanted to give you an unsolicited amount of time to just be like, let's get the record straight right now. This is what I love to do, and this is why I do it.
Yeah, it is what I love to do. I think if I wanted to make this a full time job, I could, and maybe someday I will, but I am passionate, and I think passion leads everything we do, whether it be shampoo or, traveling the world, or whether it be, working at the bank or being a teacher, whatever that is for you. Like passion fuels everything we do. And so, yeah, I mean, do my post maybe annoy some people? Probably. It took me a hot minute to just process like that I'm not here to always necessarily. I by no means want to bring negativity to the world, but if I'm not for you, then keep clicking, keep scrolling.
Right. Just scroll right past it and on to
All
the
right
next
past
thing.
it. I think I was probably even more nervous about what my close family members would think and how they would receive me. And some of them are annoyed with it because they just want to see my cute kids. I'm like, then keep clicking. You don't have to watch my videos. You don't have to watch my posts. You can just go see the kids if that's what so realizing that you're not for everyone, and that's okay, but I'm here for those that are. And quite honestly, this business has opened up so much for me, in like emotional ways. I didn't realize
Mhm.
how many people are watching. Honestly, like
Right?
the amount of people that are coming out of the word works and messaging me like, I want help. I see this as helping you and I want help. And I'm like so excited. I'm like, that's why I'm here. That's why I keep posting every single day. Like, I'm here for you. I'm not here, like, yes, it brings me joy to help you. So, in that way, I'm here for myself, but like to put myself out there to people really locally that I guess know who I am, that people that are like, wow, okay, they want tips and advice on the heatless curls and makeup, and I could go on and on. And I appreciate that. I love the relationships that I've been able to build with people. And so I'm like, not only, yes, you're going to buy this amazing quality product, but you get me. Like in doing that, you get me as a friend. And I will constantly be helping you, checking in, messaging, like, how is your wash going? How's your curls? How's your makeup? Like, you send me a picture. Like, some have even developed in other ways. Like, I got a message last night, like, hey, which outfit looks better? This one or this one? I'm going to a wedding in Okoboji. And I'm like, I'm here for you. Like all those little messages make my heart so happy because people are feeling that connection. Like we all need connection. And to kind of loop it back around to motherhood, I think trying to find friends and have friends as a mom and dad is so hard because it's so time consuming. You put so much time into parenthood, out and juggling work and parenthood alone, to have those friendships. Like motherhood friendships look so different. And because we're both mothers, we understand that. It might be a meme here and a reel there and a text here, and then we might not see each other for a month, but like that connection is what we all are thriving as people and as humans. And so I do feel like that's the positive aspect of social media, is like I can't
Right.
go out for tacos and margaritas. And I would love to, but I don't always have the time. But that connection, like I can still build these relationships and connect with other people through social media and through sharing, this business as well.
Yeah. Wow. That's what's up. That's exactly like part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you just as a human being and reconnect. Like I said in the precursor to the podcast, is just like it's so fun reconnecting with people. And I should note this very quickly, and then we'll get to our last topic. Jen, is that so? You and I met and or worked together at Pin Oak back in the day as servers and bartenders, and then
Yes.
just kind of through life kind of parted ways and lived on our own a little bit. But then I just saw you honestly posting online, and it's the face, and I was like, you know what? That woman, she was always quite helpful and quite positive. And you know what? I'm just gonna shoot her over a message, see what the hell's going on, and then here we are with Life with Nick talking about life, catching up on things, and it's just been such a joy. So yeah, that hopefully provides some context. But reach out to people,
You were 17 when I knew you. You were just a little teenage baby when I knew you. So it's been so fun to watch you grow into your manhood, but also through social media. It's not, we haven't spent face to face time physically together probably since you were about 18. It's been a very long time. But being able to stay connected through social media and see your college, your athletic complications, and now like all of those things come, and now you're engaged and getting married, and like all these things that like how we stay connected as humans for sure. So it's been great. I'm so grateful that you asked me to come on. I love these types of opportunities. They're nothing but fun and engaging. So thank you for thinking of me and including me in
Oh,
this.
absolutely. Yeah, it's been great. It's been absolutely great. So we just for the listener's sake, so we just kind of went over the hour marker, but there's one topic that I want to conclude with that I think is both motivational but also educational, and it's something that we as humans share to a certain degree. And I just in our passing in our conversation, it came up last time, Jen, and I just want to like give again a platform to talk on this. But I want to talk on mental toughness and resiliency and the
Mm.
victimhood mentality a little bit, because I think that it's so good for people to be reminded of this, ourselves included. So, as far as the degree of depth that you want to talk on, I'll leave that up to you. But, like, as far as just mental toughness and resiliency in your life, um, feel free to take that any way you want. But what does that either mean to you, or how would you define it? Or there's 100 different ways we could go with it. But I love the topic of mental toughness and resiliency.
Yeah. So such big, great, strong, loaded questions, Nick. That's amazing. Yeah, I come from a very complicated past. We all have a story. I think you and I talked about that, like, and finding maybe, I don't know if joy is the right word, but finding like confidence in our story, and like that our story shapes who we are. So I had a really great childhood up until probably about the age of 11, and my parents divorced. And so there's just a lot of things that come with that as a child. I had to grow up very fast, like a lot of children probably do. My mom is a very loaded topic, and this podcast is not long enough to share all the things about that. But there's a lot of trauma and mental toughness that comes along with who I had as a mother, which we could really go full circle and tie into. It completely shapes who I am as a mother and who I'm choosing to be as a mother. My mother really does struggle with a lot of mental illness. I don't even know, depression, anxiety, bipolar. And very recently, a lot of my podcasts have been listening is about narcissism. I cannot believe it's taken me 20 plus years to learn what narcissism really is and what people like that are and how they treat people in their life. And so I've been spending 25 years of my life trying to figure out who my mother is and why I can't figure her out. And it took me this long to figure out that she's a narcissism. She's a victim. Things happen to her. Nothing is her fault. And so I just continued to go back to that relationship over and over and over again, wanting a different result. Sharing with my older daughter, who's 9, grandma disappeared from her life a year ago and she doesn't understand why. And so
Mm,
sharing enough of the truth with her so that she can understand what's happening, but not too much that she's jaded in life. Like, it's okay to have good memories of
yeah,
her grandma, but she also needs to understand that her grandma is a felon and she steals people's identity and she stole a lot of money. And I could go on and on. Like, she's not a good person.
sure.
And you can have those good memories and you can still love the good parts of your grandma without, but know that like not every person is all good and all bad. And sometimes allowing those relationships in your life, like, that really shows that I hung on to this relationship with my mother. It shows how deep that connection is to from a child to their parent, to their mother, or to their father, and that they're willing to allow so much toxicity in their life, because it's their mom. And so I guess I'm here to say that it's okay. I didn't always feel like it was okay, and I had to come to that in my own way, on my own terms, and feel like it just hurt my heart so much to walk away from my mom. And she chose to walk away from me, which is probably what I needed, because I wouldn't pull the string. I wouldn't say enough is enough. And no matter how much she hurt me, stole from me, lied to me, I mean, I could go on and on. And so it shaped who I am as a mom in so many ways. I didn't have a home to come to in college. Like, I I am now rebuilding my home, to have a place that my kids can always call home, because I didn't have that. and sharing that with my daughter. Like, Mom, everybody I know goes on a plane and they're going on vacation, and I want that in my life. Well, honey, it's okay to want those things, and maybe we'll get that. We'll get there in the next 5 years. But right now, building this home is important to me. And as a mom,
Right.
it won't be important to you, but this is why it's important to me. Like, I lived in 5 different places with 5 different addresses, and I didn't have a place to call home. And that was painful and difficult and sad. And
Yeah.
I couch hopped and I room hopped, and I didn't have stability, which is also probably why my husband is such an important role in my life. He was always my stability, and he was always my home, emotionally, physically as well. And so to have a place that they can come to in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, like, and she understands that when I explain it to her, like, this is why I am who I am. Grandma Jackie, she hurt me so much and she never provided these things for me. So now as a mom, I want to provide that for you. I wanted my mom to be my best friend when I grew up, and I didn't have that. So I
Right.
want that someday for you and for me. Like,
Mm.
I want to be the person you tell secrets to. I want to be the person that you come to, and the first person you want to tell good news, and the first person you call when something heartbreaking happens. Like, I want to be that for you. So I've really had to embrace like the role reversal. You know,
Yeah. No kidding.
like, I want these things. I want a mom that's going to come clean my house when I have a newborn baby. I want a mom, like, I want these things that never happened. And so trying to be like, okay, like, I had to find a way to get over it, I guess. I don't know how you get over it, but really maybe focusing on, instead of focusing on what I don't have, focusing on what I do have, and also like cultivating that for myself
Yes.
and for my family, and saying, you know what, I didn't have that, but gosh darn it, my kids are going to have that. And I'm going to be everything that I can be for them that I wanted in whatever capacity they want or will allow in their life.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so good. I appreciate you opening up on that. And like to really drill home like the mental resiliency of that. I think that so often when those major big hitters do happen, not only do we need to take the time to process it to understand what the heck is even like why is that so hurtful to one, which like now speaking on it it's much more clear, but like during that time you don't really know why or how, or having to accept the reality of divorce, having to accept the reality of that not coming through to fruition is like a really, it'll honestly maybe stick with you for your whole life. It's just, again, part of the story. It's not a great thing. And when we're all growing up and moving forward in life, we never think that that's where we'll be. That's one thing I've been talking to some of my sisters about and my fiance about is like, you never maybe have it to the point where you're at today of like, oh, I didn't think that any of these things would be possible for someone like myself growing up in a pretty decent household. But choosing in that moment of reflection and pain to say, I'm going to draw a line in the sand and I'm going to take action on that motivation, even though it's negative motivation, to then set the tone for the future of the role reverse like you're talking on. So that's really what I wanted to highlight and have you talk on is like, hey, even though these things are very detrimental, there's still an amazing amount of fuel, motivation, information that you can choose to take positive action on and build something great with, even though it's not ideal.
You said it right, choice. And I think that that's why I don't have a lot of tolerance for victims in my life. If you are going to be someone that's just a victim, like, I'm going to uplift you, and I'm going to tell you where you have choice, and I'm going to present these things to you like, well, you could do this, you could do that. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel what you're feeling, whether that's pain, sadness, hurt. I'm not telling you not to feel those things and they're not okay, but you feel it. And then like, what's next? And that maybe that's, again, some of my Enneagram 7, but because of what I've been through, I'm like, I've survived these types of traumas. And so I feel like, yes, you can too. Everyone can. It's a choice. It's a
Boom.
choice. And I don't believe that, obviously we can't control what happens to us. We all know that life never stops happening.
Right.
However, we can continue to control how we respond to those situations. And that's what I'm a firm believer in. My mom has been a victim her whole life. That's the narcissism in her. And so, like, I just have a zero tolerance policy for that kind of energy in my life. And nothing but what are you going to do now? Like, how are you going to make the best of this situation? How are you going to move forward? Because again, literally, life will keep happening. And I suppose sometimes I feel like I've cultivated such a great life for myself now. Like I'm so genuinely and deeply happy in my marriage, in my home, with my children. That doesn't mean my life is perfect. My
Yeah.
kids are still kids and that things happen. But however, like I'm just so genuinely happy that I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like what's next? What's
Yeah.
next? Life's too good right now. It's like Tinley Girl comes along and I mean, trying to get my master's degree while being pregnant and moving, and my husband got a new job. Like, I did a whole nother podcast that's an hour long that's just on that story alone.
Wow.
I was, all these great things were happening in my life, but my body was retaining the fluid and the stress from those positive life experiences that she was born 12 weeks early. That was why I was stressed. That's the
Wow.
simple reason.
Yeah.
Extra fluid in my pregnancy and my body went into labor even though I was not ready to have a baby. And so that just shows like as women maybe too, like I'm fine. I think of the Friends show. I'm a huge Friends fan. I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everybody's fine. We're fine. I was fine until I wasn't. And so just
Right.
maybe that's the negative side effect of being so positive all the time. I call it, what is it? Positive denial. Like I just was constantly like, I knew the reality of it, but like, what else am I going to do? Like, I just positively like power through it, which I don't know. I don't know what else I would have done. Like, it doesn't do any good to be worried or stressed or, like it's going to be what it's going to be in every
Right.
situation in life, whether that's delivery, babies, schooling. I mean, I could go on and on. We can control how we respond is where that comes back full circle.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful and heavy message, and I want it to be that way just because I think that we again need to be reminded of that freedom and autonomy to choose how we respond is just something that everyone needs to remind themselves on. The other thing I'll filter in with that too, that gets me really fired up is like it's not fun to go through those things, and sometimes we feel like why, and sometimes it's easy to slip into victimhood because it feels good, it's an easy escape. There's an author, you had actually commented on this, the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, the book that we posted out not too long ago. But he poses as like a slow drip of heroin for victimhood. Essentially, he's like, it feels really good in the moment to basically give people like the power to like blame all this other stuff, and it's like it's harder to take responsibility. But what's way more what allows you to go to bed way more confidently and at peace is when you say, I'm in complete control of everything that's happened to me and I take full responsibility for that. Like that's a heavy burden, but the amount of freedom that comes with it is the most liberating thing of all time. Because when you then act on that freedom and that responsibility, you're now very proud of who you are, how you built it, the momentum that you bring to the table, and all that good stuff. So I'm not sure if you've ever told yourself this, but I'm going to tell you this. I'm very proud of you as a human for taking that situation and then using it to the advantage that you have through the choice that you've made to do that.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that and saying that. Those are things we look for from our parents as well. And I never received that kind of, acknowledgement because a narcissism mother, like nothing's her fault. And so thank you.
Of
I
course.
do think I normalize what I go through, and maybe all of us do sometimes because it's life. I don't always realize that the tribulations that I've gone through or I've been through are significant. I just feel like, I'm another person going through life. My story isn't any more special than anyone else's. But I do believe in the power of stories and sharing. And so that's why I was open to, coming and talking with you today. If your podcast can reach somebody and help somebody, like that makes all the difference in the world to me. And I think that's why I've started to be more open. I just never thought that I was important. that I'm person, but I think that's something to be said in what you're doing. I love what your podcast stand for, and that we all matter. We all do, and we all have a story and the way that we tackle life. And, if we can share our stories and help each other, conquer those trials and tribulations, like I spent way too much time in a toxic relationship with my mother. And if my story and even sharing some of that can help someone realize, like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to walk away. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad mother. I told myself a lot of those things, and I don't. I probably because she was my mom. I just wanted that relationship. I wanted something that was never going to be, and I allowed that toxicity for way too long. So I would love to help other people work through that. I would love to help other people, become a stronger version of themselves in any way, shape, or form, which is what you're doing here. So keep connecting, keep sharing with anyone and everyone because you matter too. They matter. We all matter.
We do. We must remember this as well because again,
Yes.
the day to day effects, but also the thing that I'll highlight, and I appreciate the compliment, is like everyone, whether you think you know them or not only evolves throughout life, but also there's these very small pieces. It's kind of like reading a book, if you will, and that essentially when you're reading that book, it's like, oh, okay, there are some usable moments in everyone's quote unquote story. If you were to use that analogy of reading their personal book, it's not like an autobiography, but at least there's some tangible information there. But all things considered, we are going to get wrapped up here on the Life with Nick podcast. Jen, thank you so much for coming on and talking on this stuff. I had a great time doing that. Any final thoughts or fun things from you?
No, no. Thank you for giving me the time and the platform to speak. It was great to catch up. I've been looking forward to this so much. And yeah, don't, I hope it's not the last time. And I can't wait to reconnect again, podcast or not.
Absolutely. I was just going to say this definitely won't be the last time. But as it pertains to the listeners on the Life with Nick podcast, we will get things wrapped up. Thank you guys and girls for tuning in. And until next time, folks. All right.